The theme of today's video is things I already pre-made without recording but want to use in a doll. So first I have a rerouted hat. Originally it was Madeleine Hatter, now it has red hair, and we're standing in my kitchen now for half a year. And then I pre-made a dress while I was working on the Jillian Candy Corn doll that I thought was quite interesting because I reused the pattern for Jillian's blouse and then cut a blazer my mom had hanging around into pieces to make a vest and a skirt, so oddly Victorian. So more or less Victorian. And yeah, while I was thinking about what to do with her, so red hair, Victorian outfit, quite simple, make it a steampunk doll. So this is the theme for today's video.
Let's start with the repaint first. Unsurprisingly, first I took out the soft pastels and swatched some of them onto sanding paper to define my color palette. Gosh, that sounded so fancy. Then I basically just shaded her, and my color palette was mainly browns and oranges because of dress, hair, ta-da. I decided for her to have green eyes because I always love the combination of red hair, green eyes, and yeah, so surprisingly I went with that. And I kept the whole repaint fairly simple again because of all the details that will come with the dress and her hat and her hair and her everything, just to have some points that are not too overwhelming. And I think that is something I achieved. Her eyeshadow was three-colored. We have a light orange, a deeper orange, and a brown at the corners of the eye. Yeah, and I decided for her to have a quite neutral brownish lipstick. Again, not to take away from the overall look. When I finally added the irises, she looked rather creepy because they were very bright, so I tried to dull them down a little bit, and yeah, then it was just the basic, adding the pupil, giving her some last sprays of MSC, and the face up was already done. As a very last step, I darkened a little bit the area around her eyes to make it a little bit more pronounced, that it pops a little bit more. And yeah, after the whole MSC was dried, I gave her two last layers. I added some of the details off camera, like the shine of the eyes and the lashes. This time I decided to do them off camera, because we have already enough to go through. So let's start. First, I unraveled her hair, or unwrapped her hair, and yeah, with a hairdryer I gave it a basic shape, and then I went to my kitchen and boil washed it in place. Because for, I think, the first time ever, I decided to give a doll bangs. Normally I am not that much into bangs, especially with such a round face, but I had in mind these V-shaped bangs that I thought are quite suiting for her. So I went with them, and it was a journey to cut them, because in such a small scale, you have to be insanely precise, and yeah, that was something. But after drying them, making them wet again, drying them again, making them wet again, and cutting, they were finally as exact as I will get them. So I slapped on some hairspray and left them how they were. Though I had decided for her to get quite a range of ringlets, I took out my knitting needles that I prepare for this, wrapped around her hair, and then set them with my straightening iron. I had to figure it out a little bit because the hair was, getting destroyed. It was melting, so I had to set it on the lowest heat and put it on longer, and then I had very nice ringlets. Each and every one was sprayed with some hairspray, and I refer to them as crunchy rolls because they are crunchy as hell. The rest of the hair was twisted and then sewn on top of her head into a bun because I wanted something for the hat to grip on, and I didn't know where to put the hair else, and because of the hat and because I will glue it, why not? Yay! Make it easy! And for continuity, the hat was already finished at this point, but now I show you how to make it. Or more how I decorated it, because I lost the footage where I made the hat today. It was basically just a ball of aluminium foil that I flattened and wrapped around some polymer clay, then put on the bottom part, put on top part, the band, and was finished. Then I made these googles, whatever, and yeah, while I wrapped around the band, that is quite important as well, I took a little piece of a skewer and put it between, because I wanted to add a feather later onto her head. Because at this point I remembered the doll I tried to make some time ago, and in that design I gave it a wing. I decided, hey, let's give her a wing too and maybe make the second doll, because it's half done, in the future as a companion for her. So I cut out these shapes of polymer clay, then put some bacon bond onto it and a wire to hold them in place. My idea at this moment was that the wings will be screwed together at the top and are able to fold in and out. Yeah, that wasn't working in the end. What a surprise. But I still think they look quite nice. After a first round of baking and a first failed attempt to get them to work, I had to add some more thickness to them, what worked quite well because the main base, for example, had the wire completely on it and that looked terrible. So now I could cover it up. And with some more layers of polymer clay, or one more layer on the individual wing parts, it was a little bit more sturdy, and yeah, the wire was more embedded into it, what was quite nice as well. As I already mentioned, the mechanic with flipping out and in didn't work in the end, But yeah, let's face it, I will put this doll on display and there it will stand for the rest of its existence. So there will be no flipping in and outs. So it's okay. Oh yes, and what I completely forgot, because yeah, this time I filmed a lot of stuff off camera. Or I was off camera while filming, so you can't see it. I made her a cane. And the top part of it looks a little bit like a hot air balloon, and I embraced that completely with adding some strings in the end. I don't think you really see them. You mainly see them in person, but yeah, she has a hot air balloon cane. Yay! Then we went on to the painting part, and yeah, a lot of copper, a lot of metallic paints. What a surprise. I wasn't entirely sure if I like it at first. I was completely in love with her hands because that looked so great that I wanted to paint a whole doll in this reddish copper. But with her dress being quite simple, I wasn't all too sure that it will work. And yeah, I struggled with that for quite a while. After I wrapped the end wires of the wing around her body, because I knew that they will be covered anyway with the blouse and the vest, I went on to sew first the blouse into place, and I tried to position the wings with the stitches. So I first sewed the top part into place, then the bottom part, and then I went in between the wings to settle them onto the point where they were at this moment. And while I struggled with that, of course, the glue of the wings came loose and I had to glue it in place later again. But, when I was done with stitching the blouse in place, I then put on her skirt, stitched that in place as well, and yeah, while stitching that in place, I tried to catch some of the blouse with it to settle it, and that was a bad idea because I ended up stitching it in place a little bit off-center when you turn her around. It's done, it's fine, I can live with it. And yeah, as the very last step, I closed her vest in the back and she was dressed. For some last details, I finished her cane with a little bit of yarn to resemble the ropes that are on a hot air balloon. And then I took out some tiny little pretty charms that I had. Some of them I made myself ages ago and sew them onto her dress. First I thought give her a belt, but sewing them onto her without a belt was quite nice because yeah, it's not too overwhelming. And these little bottle charms that I made, where I have a tutorial on how to make them, after sometimes, because they are made of glass, the resin made them break. So I used a black ribbon to cover that up to still use it. And with the black ribbon and the crack not visible, it looks quite nice. I had glued her head on off camera, and then now it was time to reunite the head with the body. and she looked quite nice.
Now that she is finished, I have to say some things. First thing, I am insanely happy that she was already rerouted and the dress was pre-made, because all the little things I made for her out of polymer clay, this was quite a journey. And in the end, I think she turned out very well. I, for the first time, really love the hair. What is funny to me, because I normally hate the hairdos I make, but her little crunchy rolls are quite nice. And now that I have my first steampunk doll done, I think about completing another steampunk project that I started 2 years ago, I think. It's a male doll and he has already his hair. It's not hair, it's basically just wires. And yeah, though he already has them, and I didn't do anything for him in the last 2 years, maybe I will sew some clothing for him when I'm with my mom the next time, and you will see the steampunk guy fitting for her in the near future. Maybe, no one knows. Yeah. But I still have some hats and some pre-made dresses that are waiting for, just being joined and finished. There is quite a range of different doll hats with rerouted hair that are waiting. And quite a range of finished dresses that would like to be shown. So, maybe this is something I should do more often. Just revisit half-done dolls. Yeah. But with that, I think this video can come to an end. Thank you for watching, and I hope we will see us in another one. Bye.